It is football at 4, one of my favorite times of day. You can set your watch by. We talk pigskin at 4 o'clock. And today is an unusual day for the Carolina Panthers in that it is training camp, but it's kind of their first off the practice field day of training camp. They had 2 days on the field. That's Wednesday and Thursday, where they practiced. No shoulder pads, anything like that, but they were out there running around. Today was a walkthrough day. And certain players spoke to the media, which gives us a little insight into what they're thinking and first impressions from players about their teammates and how the team is looking going into this year. And with that, you get to hear, I love talking with Adam Thielen or hearing from Adam Thielen because he's a guy that's seen it all. And I actually think that's part of his role with this team. And it's part of the reason why they brought in guys like Hunter Renfrow is, you know, they're the ones that have been through the battles. They're the ones that can suggest things, and they're the ones that can give us honest reports on how some of the young guys are progressing, or how some of the young guys have shown up to camp. With the idea that Thielen has been there when, you know, Stephon Diggs showed up for the Minnesota Vikings, Justin Jefferson showed up for the Minnesota Vikings. He's been around quite a bit, quite a few young guys. And one of them is Chau Smith-Wade, who we actually talked to his college coach, Jake Dickert, 2 days ago. He's now the head coach at Wake Forest, but at the time he was coaching Washington State. And he was super high on Chau Smith-Wade. So let's hear if Adam Thielen is as high as his old college coach. Here's Adam Thielen on the young slot corner.
It's confidence and physicality. Like, he just brings a demeanor, a physicality, and a confidence that, is tough to go against. Those are the guys that are tough. Like, when I think about some of the toughest corners that I played in my career, even just being on the outside, they were the guys that were just confident. Like, you could see it in their eyes. You could see it in the way that they played the game, that they are just confident in their abilities. And when they're that confident, they have the ability to be patient and kind of let the game come to them. So that's what I'm seeing out of him, is just confidence and physicality.
It's interesting. I'm now going to marry kind of the two comments. One from Adam Thielen, all about confidence of Chau Smith-Wade, and going back to our conversation with Jake Dickert, his coach at Washington State, about Chau Smith-Wade. Jake Dickert pointed out that there was a point about halfway through Chau Smith-Wade's college career when it clicked, right? The first 2 years maybe wasn't as mature as he should have been. I think Jake Dickert put it, the way he put it was, he did everything wrong the first 2 years on campus. And then something clicked, and he started, pursuing his dreams a little bit more aggressively, doing more of the right things. And from that point on, he was a different player. He was a different person. The fact that Adam Thielen notices the confidence in the defensive back, which hopefully no one can hear that like alarm going off over our shoulders.
The building across the street, we're fine.
We're outside. We're good.
Yeah.
But like, a defensive back is inherently, and I say this with love for all my defensive backs out there, it is inherently a cocky position.
Oh, yes.
It is an arrogant, filled position.
Oh, yes.
And it has to be, right? You have to get burnt, or if you get burnt for a touchdown, you have to have absolute amnesia and show up the next play thinking you're a lockdown corner. You're Darrelle Revis in 2007. Like, you just have to be that every single time. So for him to notice confidence tells me Chau Smith-Wade is carrying himself, making all the right decisions, doing all the right things, which is what Jake Dickert said in the second half of his college career he was as well. And you hope that is unwaverable, unflappable confidence, simply because of what I just said. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for Chau Smith-Wade. Based on the way their defensive back depth chart looks right now, there could be a ridiculously long leash for Chau Smith-Wade, in that if he has a couple mistakes, a couple bad games, I don't know if they have a lot of other places to turn. So that confidence is still going to have to be there regardless of what happens, which is important.
There's not a whole lot after him.
That's my point.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot after him.
It's,
thrown in the deep end, man. Sink or swim.
It's when you're down to the last guy in the bullpen. It's like, dude, it's you or we're putting a second baseman out there. So we're going to make sure you got nothing in the tank before we throw somebody else in there.
Let's get us through.
Adam Thielen was also asked about Jimmy Horn Jr. This not even a returning player. This a rookie 6th round pick out of Colorado, a wide receiver / kick returner, punt returner. Here's Thielen on Jimmy Horn Jr.
I just like his mindset from the day that he got here, even through these training camp practices, just his ability to want to learn, his ability to just want to be the very best player and teammate he can be. That's really what sticks out for me. I mean, obviously everybody knows what he can do athletically with the ball in his hands. So he's a rookie and he's a guy who has a great potential and future in this league. But I just love that his mindset's there from day one. That's not always the case. And usually when you look at guys that play a long time in this league, it's guys that want to be great, that want to do the little things, that want to ask questions, that are not like too good or too cool to kind of learn. So definitely impressed with his mindset.
I'm going to quote one of my favorite movies here, Draft Day, starring Kevin Costner.
Oh, yes.
He brings up Kevin Costner in the movie. He's a GM of the Cleveland Browns, and they're talking about drafting a quarterback. And his point is everybody has a flaw. The great ones, for whatever reason, it just doesn't matter. And he goes, Peyton Manning's arm wasn't strong enough, but it just didn't matter. John Elway, they thought, actually threw it too hard. He had no touch.
Yeah.
But it just didn't matter. His plea to the scouts ahead of the draft is find out what's wrong with him and find out if it matters or not. Jimmy Horn Jr., very obvious what the quote-unquote flaw in his prospect profile is.
Small.
He's 5'9", 170 pounds.
Yeah.
It's right there. What the Panthers have to do now is figure out if it matters, right? Figure out what he can and can't do. When does it matter and when does it not? I'll give you a little anecdote about Jimmy Horn Jr. As Dennis knows, and I say all the time, I am as big of a draft nerd as there is. I like to test. I like to test myself against how the actual draft plays out. Like, if I find a guy who like all the analysts are giving a 5th round grade, and I'm like, I don't know, I think he's better, and then he gets drafted in the 3rd, I think I'm a genius. I'm like me and the Los Angeles Chargers, same page. Everybody else was off. So I was watching actually for Shedeur Sanders. I was watching Colorado tape, trying to figure out, is this Shedeur Sanders guy good or not? And one of the things I wrote down multiple times was, goodness gracious, this guy throws up 50-50 balls, and his wide receivers make him look good. And then a couple bullet points later, I put an arrow to it, what I'd said right there, and I wrote, and it's not just Travis Hunter. These other guys do it too. And I didn't know who these other guys were at the time. All I knew was if there was a one-on-one anywhere on the field, Shedeur Sanders had the confidence in his guys to just put one up, and this guy, Shedeur Sanders, led the country in completion percentage.
Yeah. And
he was throwing 50-50 balls up, jump balls up left and right. And it was Travis Hunter. Don't get me wrong. That dude is a stud. Like, absolutely. But also LeJontay Wester and Jimmy Horn Jr. were all coming down with difficult catches left and right and using their speed to get open and taking short catches the distance. So what I came away with was, I don't think Shedeur Sanders is all that everyone's making him out to be. I think his receivers made him look way better because they had a couple of dudes. And then, of course, later on, I came up on the Jimmy Horn prospect profile, and I went, oh, man, he's 5'9", 165 pounds. I would have really liked this guy if he were 6 foot, 195, right? Which is so almost dumb of my thinking, but I didn't put him high on. I'll tell you right now, I had him about a 6th or 7th round pick, which is what he ended up going.
Yeah.
But does it matter? It does at points, right? I think if you put him on the outside, or if you put him in a slot where he's on the line or whatever it is, if I'm a corner, if I'm a slot corner, I'm getting my hands on him and I'm not letting him go, right? Because he's 170 pounds and I'm going to be bigger and stronger than he is. But if you can find situations where that doesn't matter, get him in motion. Dennis and I were talking about this before the show. Get him off the ball and use screens or rubs and crossing routes and everything else to get him free. There might be something there that, turns a 6th round pick into a, 2nd round value. And the nice part is, if it doesn't work out, if everything Adam Thielen just said is true, if he's a guy that wants to learn, if he's a grinder, if he's willing to do whatever it takes, at the worst, you have a depth player at wide receiver and a really good returner, because you can't get your hands on him before he gets the ball when you're, standing 40 yards, 50 yards away at the snap. So it's an interesting player. He's getting a lot of hype through the first 2 days on the field for the Carolina Panthers, and I'm intrigued to see where it goes.
I'm intrigued to see how Canales uses him. Which, by the way, seeing Jimmy Horn Jr. in person, that speed pops. it really does pop.
Yeah, I mean, on film it pops. It's just small.
Yeah.
He's small. That's really it. Like I said, you find the flaw, you find out if it matters. Sometimes you have to look real hard to find the flaw. With him, he does a lot of stuff that I like, but he's 170 pounds. Last one here, and this is going back to what I said about Adam Thielen having seen a lot in this league. It's not just the young players; it's also the young coaches. Dave Canales has only been a head coach now for a little over a year, and Adam Thielen was asked where he sees Canales as far as growth as a head coach going into year 2. Dennis asked this question, and here's the answer from Thielen.
I think just confidence in his approach. I think as a new head coach, and I'm kind of speaking for him here, but as a new head coach, I think there's a little bit of like, I think this is what I want to do. This is my plan, and I'm going to trust it. But I think him coming to year 2, you can see him just like, all right, like I know what I'm doing. I know what works, and I'm all in. And I think when you feel that as a player, you kind of feel the same way. Like you feel the confidence coming off of him, of the schedule, of the philosophy, of what he wants out of players, and what is it going to take for you as a player to extend your career here, like what he's exactly looking for. You have a lot of confidence in knowing that I can just go and be myself and do exactly what they want. And so again, it really comes down to just confidence in the approach, and we all feel that.
I would take it one step further and say the veterans notice that probably more than anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if you were a rookie last year, you don't know any different, right? Whatever Dave Canales is telling you, in your mind, that's the way the NFL is done. Adam Thielen's like, well, that's not how Zimmer did it. Well, that's not how this guy did it. Well, that's not how that's not how Frank Reich did it. That's not how, like, he has so many other ways. So, if Canales isn't all the way bought in, he's sensing it and going, I don't know. My best teams in Minnesota did it differently. But now he's seeing the confidence, and it's like, all right, this guy, he's convicted. He knows what he's doing. I'm going to buy in. I think it's more for veterans than the young guys.
Honestly, thinking about that when I was listening to Thielen answer that question earlier this afternoon, I thought to myself, we talk about players making a big jump from last year to this year. I mean, in terms of Panthers as a whole, Canales himself might be the guy that takes the biggest jump, like in all seriousness. Like, how do you handle certain play calls in certain situations? How are you managing people at practice and your personnel and just all these different kinds of things? Like I'm having been a former coach myself. There's so much that I realized I didn't know my first year being a head coach until I actually did it. I was like, I thought I knew, and I knew probably about 10%. And then going into year 2, and then the third year became head coach, I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing now.
Do you know I'm actually bringing that up? Do you know I'm jealous about coaches?
What's up?
Is as a player, as an athlete, by the time you feel like you have the mental side figured out, the physical side is in decline.
Yeah.
And coaches they have a much longer time to just keep getting better with the mental side because it doesn't matter if they run a 4.6 or a 4.8.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of times, like I'm sure Adam Thielen would tell you, Adam Thielen was a 4.4 something guy early in his career.
Played on the outside.
And 1,000-yard receiver, all this stuff, and made Pro Bowls and caught a bunch of touchdowns, made a bunch of money. At this point in time, I think if you line him up for a 40, it's high 4.5s, right? So, but he knows so much more that he can still get by and he can still get open, and he would love to, I'm sure, have his knowledge now and still have that like 4.43 speed, right? If you put those together, it would be gangbusters. A coach kind of gets that over time, where it's like, oh no, I'm just getting better. I'm not fighting all father time. And I've said this a few times about Dave Canales last year. I think the early struggles, I don't know if they completely are eradicated, but I don't think he play called Bryce Young into a reset, right? I think once things got spiraling, he was still calling like the best play he thinks to beat the defense. And sometimes you need to get the guy a completion, right? Sometimes you need to, give him a breather play. Peyton Manning calls them breather plays. Sometimes you just got to call it and run it, meaning no alerts, no audibles, just call and run handoff. So the quarterback can turn his brain off for 35 seconds and go, here you go. For Peyton Manning, it would have been Edgerrin James, pick me up 4 yards just so I can reset. I don't think there was enough of that for Bryce Young. And I think that's a learning deal for Canales, because when Bryce Young came back for the second run, I think there was more of those. There was more, let's get a speed sweep here so he can just kind of a jet sweep so he can relax, or let's get him a hitch completion. So I think that could, if things turn sideways in the first couple games, I think Dave Canales will be better at handling it not to at all take the responsibility off of Bryce. He has to be better. But I thought the coach could have helped him out a little bit more last year.